I used to struggle with decision making about the smallest decisions. But I think since the time I experienced the power of getting an instinct and actually following that instinct, my life completely changed. So many people might also ask, how do you know if it's an instinct? How do you know if it's not just wishful thinking? Indecision is a decision in itself, which is trying to tell you something. Our brain is designed to avoid pain. There are some decisions right now, at present, they could feel uncomfortable and painful to make. But in the long term, you know within yourself, this will be the best thing ever. Our mind is a very weird entity, I feel like sometimes. It can play all sorts of tricks on us. I've always talked about that social media is kind of an overwhelming space to be in. I'm like, okay, I can figure that out. I can create some rules and boundaries and systems for myself, and I can put those in place. And maybe it won't be that big of a problem. Hi guys, welcome to another solo episode of Curious Sessions with Shruti. Today I have a very interesting topic that I'm going to talk about. Something that I feel a lot of people struggle with in life, and I have also struggled with. But finally, I feel like I've reached a place where I feel like I am able to make good decisions, and I am able to confidently make good decisions. And some of the things that have helped me to reach this place in my life is what I'm going to share in this video. So yeah, let's start about how to make good decisions in life. I want to start with this point, which is very, very commonly talked about and known. But I think why it's important, or I think when people experience it, only then they realized how important it is and how make or break your decision making confidence within yourself, which is instinct. I know it's something that's very common, but I also understand that it's very, very overlooked sometimes because it's so common and prevalent. What happens with us is that we sometimes tend to overlook things that are evidently in front of us. And I want to talk about how I think I used to struggle with decision making, to be very honest, about the smallest decisions. I think one of my cousin, who I have always went with when it comes to choices in decision making, will vouch for it, that how indecisive I have been in my life previously. But I think since the time I experienced the power of getting an instinct and actually following that instinct, my life completely changed. And I don't think there is any other empowering tool when it comes to decision making other than instinct. And I'll tell you how this has helped me. I remember once long back, I had a choice in doing something, and I've gotten a very strong instinct about it. I've also talked about it in my the one thing that changed my life video, which is when I was deciding to go to Paris for the first time for a summer program, and I had this crazy instinct that I need to go now. And it was very weird for me because it was after a long time I was getting a very clear, concise instinct. Like, it was very clear. Sometimes instincts can be, it can be confusing, or you can get confused when you get an instinct. But this particular instinct, when I felt it, I had no doubt that whether to listen to it or not. One such other incident that has happened in my life where I've gotten this crazy kind of instinct to go ahead and do something is when I was, is about starting this podcast. Long time back, 3 years back, I think it's been 3 years since I've started the podcast, and 3 years back, one night, or it was I think after COVID or something, and there were a few nights where I would get this strong instinct, and I would get this name in my head. I'm just curious. Do it. And it was a podcast, do it. And I was like, what is this? What is this thing? Why is it constantly in my mind, telling me to do this? And this would happen at night. And apparently instincts do become louder at night. Like any instinct that you get in life, you will always realize, and if you pay attention, you will see that at night is when it becomes the loudest. Is when everything around you is quiet and your inner voice like becomes the loudest, and you can hear it clearly. But yeah, so it used to happen with me that for 2-3 nights in a row, I got this instinct that go for it, do it, like just do it. Like I said, before this, I had an instinct about going to Paris at the time, for the summer program that I was going to go for. And it worked out well for me. It became one of the best decisions I made in my life. So I think that gave me a little bit of confidence that yes, I can listen to my instincts and follow it. And honestly, that shouldn't be the only thing that gave me confidence, because my instincts have always been great. My instincts have always been very spot on and very accurate when it came to different things in my life. But it was only a matter of me choosing to either listen to it or not listen to it. That made all the difference. That Paris decision, was the first decision in my life where without a doubt, without questioning it, I listened to it. I think that's the reason why it became so important and a pivotal moment for me in my life in terms of my decision making also, because without any hesitation, I made that decision. I was very sure. And then it turned out to be one of the best decisions I've made in my life. So that gave me a lot of confidence that, okay, this is something, like I need to start listening to my instincts. So then when I got an instinct about starting this podcast, there was no doubt that I should question this instinct, or maybe I should think about it. I was like, I'm getting a very strong instinct about it. I should do something about it. And again, it was very clear. So there was no reason also for me to doubt or hesitate in making that decision of starting a podcast. The only thing was I had to just figure out that, okay, how I'm going to do it, which also was something that I figured out in the next few days, that how I'm going to actually go ahead and do it. And so these two things gave me a lot of confidence that yes, it is about instinct. And even before that, the things that I have rationalized and thought of and analyzed, with tried to analyze with my logical mind, because also I am a very logical person. For me to go ahead and do something, it has to make sense to me. One of the decisions that I made from my instinct worked very nicely for me, and also the reasons around it, why it worked, how it worked, and all of that. I became much more confident that yes, I know logical reasoning is also very important. And so I also always take that into consideration, which is also one of the biggest things that anyone should take into consideration while making a decision. It is not always about instinct, but I'll tell you, if there's a fight between logical reasoning and instinct, you should go with your instinct. For sure. But again, it's very nuanced. Instincts are very nuanced. You have to, so many people might also ask that, how do you know if it's an instinct? How do you know? How do you know if it's not just something that you are, if it's not just wishful thinking? If it's not just you wanting to want this thing and now you're calling it an instinct, there can be all sorts of things that are, our mind is a very weird entity. I feel like sometimes it can play all sorts of tricks on us, or we can play all sorts of tricks on ourselves and confuse something else with instinct. So how do you even know if something is an instinct? When you feel like there's an inner voice that's telling you to do something, in my case, it's been very sure, but also that doing that in reality will also feel a good thing. Now, what do I mean by that? Something that you've just fantasized in your own mind, that you are trying to label as an instinct, when you will imagine yourself doing it in real life, it will not feel that great. It will always feel a little odd, awkward, no, should I even do this? No, this doesn't feel right. That is the voice that you will hear. When something is not instinct and you are trying to forcefully label it as an instinct, at some point of actually practically going ahead with that choice and will bring up that question in your mind. I don't even know if it's the right thing to do. I don't know. Should I even do this? Whereas with instinct, when you do it, when you follow it, it will become even better. You will feel even better doing something. And the path ahead of you will start getting clearer and clearer, rather than you feeling this feeling of anxiety and overwhelm. Also, instincts sometimes, okay, now here's one thing. Instincts sometimes can make you feel uncomfortable. Fantasy will not make you feel uncomfortable. Fantasy will make you feel very, very comfortable in the moment. But when it comes to actually taking action on that thing and doing it and going ahead with it, it becomes reversed. When you take action, and if it actually is coming from your instinct, then it will feel great. Whereas if you are doing something out of just fantasy, then in fantasy it will feel comfortable, but doing it actually will not feel that great. Doing it will feel uncomfortable, as if you're not doing the right thing. That's the thought that will come. That is the difference. It gets reversed. In thought, instinct is uncomfortable, but in reality, in action, fantasy becomes uncomfortable. I think that's also one of the ways you can identify whether it's if it's your instinct talking, or whether if it's just like plain fantasy or plain wishful, thinking, or wish that you have, that you want, but you might not actually like it, or you might not actually feel good when you actually go ahead and do that thing. Again, why I say that instinct is always above logical reasoning for me particularly is because when I look back, when I think of the times that I have felt I have made decisions out of like my instinct was telling me something, but out of questioning myself and doubting myself that no, because I've been that person who's always known that, yeah, maybe I should go ahead and do this thing. This is the right thing. But sometimes people around you or situations around you are such that, and sometimes you could also be very young, like how I was very young when I had an instinct about something, but I felt like it's, you don't know how to take it. You don't know how to accept that instinct, because you feel like, oh, I'm still so young. Everyone else around me is still so experienced and knowledgeable. Maybe I should listen to them. Maybe this feeling that I'm getting, this instinct that I'm experiencing or getting right now is something that is random. I used to always feel that way. Since childhood, I've been getting intuitions and instincts about things, but I've always felt like, no, this is just a random feeling. I'm sure everyone feels that way. Everyone gets these, like people talk about these downloads that you get in your brain now. I used to always have it when I was a child, but I never paid attention to it. I never understood it to pay attention to it. I never believed in it. I never had any reason or had any chance to accept it and to give it the importance or credibility that it deserved, because I had no point of reference that this could be the right thing to do, that this is something that is going to be the right thing for me to do. So like I said, there were times when I had instincts, but I would always go against it and do something else because I didn't believe in it, that, oh, there can be such a thing. I also almost felt like this is like a cheat code, like an instinct is like a cheat code, because how can you just know? And how can you, life is supposed to be like you're supposed to figure things out. Life is not just supposed to be that you just know. That felt like a cheat code to me, that I just know, and just going ahead and following it would like solve everything, So I'm sure many people feel that way. That's why it's hard for so many people to believe in instincts or to follow their instincts. But take it from me, and from someone who has given more weight and importance to reasoning or outside noises, experiences of elder people thinking that, oh, they know better. What do I know? How do I know this? Take it from somebody like me who has been through that and can still tell you and can still vouch for the fact that all of that aside, I would still go ahead and tell you that there is nothing bigger in life when it comes to decision making other than instinct. Point number 2 when it comes to decision making is also something very simple, but again, I feel like a lot of people might, see it as, oh, if it's such a simple thing, then there's something wrong with it. It can't be right. It can't be true, which is that if you have a choice in front of you and if you have to decide about something and if you're not able to decide, indecision is also a way that your instinct tells you that it's a no, or something inside you is trying to tell you that it's a no. If you can't decide, if you're indecisive about something, that in itself is also an indication that maybe you don't want to do it and you shouldn't do it, or you're not supposed to go ahead and do it. Indecision is a decision in itself, which is trying to tell you something. That's why I think one of my mantras also that has, when it comes to decision making, or say for example, if I feel like I have to think a lot, of course thinking is great. I do think a lot. Like I said, I'm also a very logical person. My brain functions in a very scientific problem solving manner, which is okay, what there is rational logic, this, that, of course. But then, like I said, I've learned to listen to my instincts more because it's helped me more. But there's a lot of logic and a lot of rationale that I also consider while making a decision. But when I consider all of that and I'm still not able to come to a decision, which might feel like, okay, it's the right thing, feels like I should be doing this, but somehow you're stopping yourself, then that in itself is also indicating and telling you that it's a no. You should not go ahead and do it. One of my mantras is, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. About anything in life. If I don't feel wow, yes, let's do this. If it's not an instant yes, and if I feel like, okay, I have to sit and wait down and whatever, then I feel like 9 out of 10 times, or majority of the times, it is a no. It is a no. For me personally. And that's what I think, once you will learn to listen to your instincts and once you'll know how these things function, you will also realize that, yeah, it's true. That's actually true. When you actually have to put a lot of thought into deciding, then it might be no. It's hard, but to accept that, but I think it's true. It's worked well for me. I think it's been true for me. Point number 3, when it comes to decision making, is something that I don't think very many people even know about. Or I think rather I would like to say that it's easily avoidable, or it's easily neglected by people, which is that pain in the short term is better than pain in the long term. Now, what do I mean by that? Our brain is designed to avoid pain, right? And sometimes that can lead us to making decisions that will give us not the pain right now, but in the long term. In the longer term, that's going to end up giving us pain. That's going to end up feeling painful. But there are some decisions in which right now, at present, they could feel uncomfortable and painful to make. But in the long term, within yourself that that's what's going to be the right thing to do. That's what's going to give you mental peace and mental clarity and mental satisfaction. That, it was hard for me to do in the moment, to listen to this or to make this decision. But ultimately, it has led me in a good place. And sometimes in the moment also, that right now it's hard to make this decision. Right now, it feels hard to go ahead with this decision. But in the long term, this is the right thing to do. This will be the best thing ever. When you're faced with a choice like that, I hope you can choose the short-term pain over a long-term pain. Something that's painful right now. Because see, life is going to be painful. You can't avoid pain. It is going to be either now or after. Now you have to choose at which point, with how much intensity it's going to be at which point. It's going to become easier for you to make that choice if you are able to understand this one point, that making good decisions will always feel painful in right now, in the immediate moment, but will always, always, always be a good thing in the long term. And if you're able to understand that, and if you're able to figure that out and identify that and recognize that, then that in itself will give you such a big power when it comes to decision making, and it will empower you in such a big way that it's going to change your life forever, because then this one tool is going to be there with you all your life. And then no matter what problem comes your way, no matter what difficulty comes your way, you are going to be able to get through it, because you have this one big advantage of knowing that pain in the short term is better than pain in the long term. Point number 4, when it comes to good decision making, is something I have learned from Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos talks about this one thing that helps him in making good decisions, which I feel like I might have known and I agree with, but after hearing his point of view about it and everything, I feel like it makes so much sense and I agree with it completely. Sometimes there are two kinds of decisions: irreversible decisions and reversible decisions. What Jeff Bezos calls a two-way door decision and one-way door decision. What are two-way door decisions? Two-way door decisions are something that you can go in and out of. Like some decisions that you can make, and if you feel like, oh no, I wanted to try it out, but now it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel fine, and I would like to go back and change it, then you can easily go back and change it. It wouldn't have the biggest repercussions, or it wouldn't have the harshest consequences if you went ahead, if you reversed it, right? Those are called two-way door decisions, where you can easily go back and change it, that are easily reversible. A one-way door decision, however, is something that is going to have bigger repercussions if you decide to change it, will have stronger consequences if you decide to reverse it. What are some of the examples of a one-way door decisions? One-way door decisions could be choosing your life partner. It's not something that you can easily go in and out of. It's not something that you can be like, oh, okay, oops, whatever. I think I made the wrong choice and now I'd like to go back and change it. Well, you can, but it's not going to be easy. It's going to take a toll on you. It's going to take a psychological, financial, maybe, economical, sociological, and as well as physiological toll on you. One other one-way door decision is also becoming a parent, having a child. I think it's the biggest irreversible decision in life. Once you have a child, you can't go back to God and tell them that, hey, now I don't like this child, please take it back. Like there's no way that you can go somewhere and be like, okay, now I've tried parenthood, it's not for me, and I'd rather not be a parent. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't happen. So, we should always identify that the decision that we have in front of me, is it a one-way decision, one-way door decision, or is it a two-way door decision? If it's a two-way door decision, which also I think, I read this book by Peter Thiel, 0 to 1. In that book also, he talks about decision making. He also said something similar to Jeff Bezos, which also resonated with me a lot. Whenever you want to do something, like say for example, you want to take up a program in college, or you want to study a particular subject, or you want to, say for example, become a doctor or a lawyer or a businessman or a CEO or like a consultant. What he said you should do is before committing your life to that decision, because it's going to be a large part of your life. If you decide to become a lawyer, if you decide to become a doctor, it's going to take a considerable amount of years, like 5-10 years, to actually, for you to say that, okay, yeah, I'm comfortable, I've become a doctor or a lawyer. Whenever it's that kind of a decision that's going to take up considerable amount of your time and your life, before committing to that decision, what you should do is, this is, I think, more career related. I'm giving these are more career related examples I'm giving. But say, for example, you want to become a lawyer. Try doing an internship at a law firm or with a lawyer, the kind of specialization that you're looking for, or just in general as well. Try to take up that internship. Try to work in that environment for some time, and see if it gives you the same feeling that you were imagining it will give you, And of course, like sometimes, it's about just the money when it comes to the career for some people. But they're not ready for the work hours or the kind of work that is that they are meant to put into it to get that result, or to get that monetary reward out of it, or to get that financial success out of it. If you're just chasing the economic benefits or the financial success out of a career, but you're not ready to handle the everyday challenges, everyday ups and downs, or every day that career demands from you, then chances are you are just fantasizing and you're just romanticizing about that job or that career in your mind, and you actually don't have the drive, the ambition, the courage to actually pursue it. So you should not go ahead with it. But to find these things out, you have to put yourself in that environment. Only then you can figure it out. So I feel like this can be a very, very good advice. I didn't come across this advice when I was in college. Had I come across it, I would have definitely taken this advice. But I feel like even now it's very useful to me, in things that I want to do, because I can always try it out, test it out. Like, say, for example, even this podcast, right? When I started getting this instinct that I should do this podcast, I was like, okay, let me go ahead and do it. If I don't like it, I can go ahead and reverse it. I can change it. I can stop doing it. I can pick something else. But at least I tried it to see whether I like it or not, whether it works for me or not, whether the everyday challenges that come with it, whether I'm able to tackle those or not, And turns out, surprisingly, I was able to do it. Of course, it had other challenges that I was concerned about as well. Like, I've always talked about that social media is kind of an overwhelming space to be in. Like, is what I used to feel like, particularly for me, that it's going to be an overwhelming space to be in. But I'm like, okay, I can figure that out. I can create some rules and boundaries and systems for myself, and I can put those systems and rules and boundaries in place. And maybe it won't be that big of a problem, which is what I've been able to do, and which is what I've been successful at doing, like creating those systems and boundaries, and taking that one thing that could have been not so positive thing for me when it came to doing this podcast. I turned it around and I optimized it, and I did whatever I could in my power to control the experience of it, and control the, how it's going to affect me, basically. So I feel like you can always try something and see for yourself that whether it works for you or whether it doesn't. Most of the challenges or most of the decisions in life that are not irreversible decisions, you can always change your mind about things and be like, okay, I give it a try. I don't think it's working for me. I can do something else. But what I feel is you should at least go ahead and give it a try. If it's a reversible decision, if it's a two-way door decision, I would highly recommend that you at least give it a try. Because you never know what happens, right? You never know if it ends up being the best decision that you made, and then everything from there starts happening from you in a way that you could never imagine. But it wouldn't have happened if you hadn't taken that one step and given it a try, right? So yeah, I think you should identify the decision that is in front of you and divide it in any of these two categories, and based on that you should see whichever category it falls into and what you can do about it, how you can go about it, and how you can handle the challenges that come with it, how you can tackle the difficulties that are thrown your way or that will come your way in the future. And hopefully it will give you a very good sense of what to do. Putting a decision in either of these two categories will give you considerable amount of clarity to be able to make a choice, right choice, the clear choice for you. Of course, you also need to have a lot of clarity. Only then you will be able to put these decisions in one of these two categories, right? So clarity becomes a big part of your decision making. So if you don't have clarity about something, if you are confused about what exactly is the decision that you need to make also in the first place, then your biggest, most important, the first task in front of you is to get clarity about it, is to get clarity about a decision, that what is the decision I'm trying to make even in the first place. And then maybe go from there and then try to put the decision in one of these two categories, and that will tell you which one you should go for. Another point that it comes to decision making that I've also come across in a book and some called Principles by Ray Dalio, an author who I really, really look up to and, give a lot of respect to the kind of insights and the thought process and everything, his principles that guide him to live a better life. One of the things that he talks about in the book is being radically open-minded. I think whenever you have a decision to make, if you or even something that you have to give a lot of put a lot of thought into, it's always good to be open-minded and ask other people also about if they have had any experience in that situation and what their experience has been, and listening to them and learning from them. Because like people say, experience is the best teacher. So you should not try to always have your own experiences, but it's the wise people learn from the experiences of other people. So you should always be open-minded enough to listen to people who've already experienced that situation. That if you can get, there's nothing like it. It's going to be most helpful to you in making a decision, right? And also, even if they have not been through that situation, but just seeking out a different perspective, like if they were in that situation, what decision would they make? What decision logically they feel would be the best decision to make in that situation? And you should pay attention to what they have to say. You should pay attention to why does somebody have this perspective. And that's the beauty of it, right? Everyone's perspective is going to be different. And it's a beautiful thing to get to know the other person's perspective about something, which you probably would have never thought of or never have considered. Because you never know which one's going to click with you, which one's going to feel like the right thing to do. And even if you end up doing something that you decided and you thought was right, it is still good. It is still better if you have an instinct about something. Then though I wouldn't ask anybody. Personally, if you ask me, say for example, I'll give you guys an example about doing this podcast, right? I had an instinct to do this podcast, to start this podcast, and I did. But now there are different challenges, there are different situations that can come up while doing this podcast. So that leaves me in a place where I can seek out different perspectives from people who have already probably been in the space, who have already probably done something like this or are still doing something like this, started way before me and have reached much better position than me doing a podcast. So I will always be ready and open to listening to them and learning from them and understanding their perspective about it and understanding how they look at it, how they feel, what will work, what will not work, and everything, right? So yeah, in that sense, when you have to do something and if you have an instinct about it, you should definitely go ahead and do it. That's not when you go about 10 people asking. Like, say for example, I wouldn't have gone up to 10 people asking that, hey, I got this instinct, should I do this? That's something I wouldn't do. But now that I've started doing it and I feel like, hey, I started this podcast, like say for example, somebody else also has a podcast who's and it's doing really well and you can learn a lot from them. I would definitely consider it as a good opportunity for me to be able to gain some perspective out of it and learn from them if I am able to ask them questions that, hey, like I've started doing this podcast, but like, how do you think I can scale it better? What do you think I should do differently? What do you think I'm currently doing that I should change? Maybe something that's working, not working. From your perspective, what do you think? I'll always be open to it. So you have to decide at which stage in the decision you have to listen to your instinct, and at which stage in the decision you have to be open to learning from other people and learning and giving your importance to their perspective and learning from them. One other thing that is also connected to this thing, like it's about perspectives and it's about like being open-minded and everything, but it also matters who you ask these questions to when it comes to decision making. Ray Dalio talks about this one particular category of people, which he says are highly believable people. You should go out seeking information, guidance, and a different perspective from highly believable people. You should not go out seek perspective from somebody who has not done it, never been in that situation. Those are not the people you seek out a different perspective from. Rather, somebody who can be believed that, okay, yeah, this person has had some experience, I should listen to it. I think Lily Singh, the really famous YouTuber and blogger and entrepreneur now, and also an activist now, she also once talked about this when she was asked that, how do you decide who to take advice from? Or if whether you should do this or you should do that. And she said that you should never take advice or listen to the people who've never been in that situation, who've never been in the arena and done it. You should always take advice from people who have some experience of doing it. Because there are so many people out there who can give advice. It's dime a dozen, like an advice. But the fact that whether they have had an opportunity, whether they have actually had a practical experience themselves of doing something, or they just have an opinion about it, those are two different things. If somebody just has an opinion about something, you should listen to their opinion. There's nothing wrong in it. But you should not make a decision based on that opinion. Rather, you should listen to somebody who has actually practically experienced it and has had an experience of doing it. Those are the people that you need to seek out information from. Those are the people that you need to seek out while getting information, while seeking guidance. These are the people that Ray Dalio calls a little bit in his way, like believable people. Like these people should have some amount of credibility to them, capability, trust value, trust factor in them for you to even consider their perspective and point of view in the first place. One other thing that Ray Dalio talks about in his book that just has stuck with me a lot, and which is called evidence-based decision making. Now, what does that mean? a lot of the times I used to feel like while making decisions that, which choice should I go for? This one or that one? You know, what should I do? How should I decide? What should I decide? And when I read this book, he said that decision making should come from evidence, which also I feel like can looked at as, if you have an evidence, like when you make a decision or when you do something, it provides evidence to you that yes, it's a good thing. Like, you know, what evidence are you getting out of, or what is the evidence that this decision is good? I think this works, evidence-based decision making kind of works more better when it comes to relationships, because say for example, if you have to decide who to be with in life as a life partner, if you have to decide who, like, to marry someone, how do you decide? What is the evidence based on which you should decide that, yeah, I pick this person, I choose this person? I think then it becomes, the evidence is something that becomes the actions that they take. What are they showing to you in their actions? I think that becomes an evidence based on which you should make that decision, or you should consider making that decision. And I think it makes a lot of sense. And evidence-based decision making is also, if you consider it outside of relationships also, there can be a few things. But I think it makes more sense in the relationship aspect. For me personally, when I think of it, you can derive evidence and you can derive information that is not just information, but you actually have proof that, okay, this actually works, it's legit. Then those become even better decisions to make. You know, those become even more foolproof, and like the chances of those decisions becoming a success, you getting success out of, you know, making that decision, increase once you feel that, okay, I have all these evidences in front of me which is telling me that I should make this decision, and just because I have all these evidences, I feel like the probability of me getting the desired outcome, or the probability of me getting even a better outcome than what I desired, are higher, then that's a good evidence. And that's the evidence that you should definitely take into consideration while making a decision. So yeah, I feel like these are some of the points that hopefully help you in making a good decision in your life. These are the few points that I keep in mind, that I have learned over the years when it comes to decision making, and they have helped me a lot. I used to be a very indecisive person, but I've become a very decisive, confident person. I have gained a lot of confidence in my decision making because of these, you know, points that I shared with you, and these points that I keep in my mind while making a decision. So they have helped me a lot. So I felt like I just wanted to come here and share with you guys also something that has helped me. And if it helps you as well in your decision making, in your journey, in your life in some way, then I would feel good about it. I would feel great that I was able to be of any help to you in your journey in life and in decision making. So I'll just leave it at that, and I hope to hear from you guys in the comments below. What do you think about these points that I've just shared? What are some of the points that you keep in mind while making a decision in life? What are some things that you feel like, what are some questions that you would like to ask? Anything that you would like to ask about this video, about any thoughts that you have about this video, do share with me in the comments below. I would love to read them. I read all your comments and messages. Also do subscribe to the channel, please. It means a lot to me. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Do also let me know what other videos you would like to see on the channel, what are the topics that you would like me to talk about, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.